Have you ever caught yourself thinking, I shouldn't have said that? Or, why did I react that way? Have you ever felt embarrassed about your behavior after the moment had already passed? When the words slipped out before you even had a chance to think? When your reaction was too sharp, too emotional, too not you? Most people think they react to the situation itself. If circumstances were different, they believe they would have behaved differently. It's the tone, the other person, the pressure of the moment, right? But if you watch this video all the way to the end, you will learn to recognize your automatic reactions. You will begin to notice the repeating patterns you've been living in for years. You will understand why the same situations keep coming back into your life. And you will finally see the difference between who you really are and who you had to become just to survive. The truth is, we almost never react to the situation itself. We react from a familiar internal script. This script didn't form yesterday. It was shaped in moments when you were scared, when support was missing, when you had to be convenient, strong, quiet, or right, just to be accepted. And every time you react instantly, raising your voice, shutting down, justifying yourself, blaming yourself, or on the contrary, lashing out, it's not the situation controlling you. It's memory. The body remembers faster than the mind can think. Your nervous system doesn't choose what's best. It chooses what's familiar. That's why you can change people, cities, jobs, status, or even age, and your reactions stay the same. And then you ask yourself the same question again. Why does this keep happening to me? If you recognize yourself in this, write in the comments. In what situations do you react automatically most often? What is your usual reaction? Shutting down, exploding, explaining, pleasing, freezing? Your answer is already the first step, because freedom doesn't start when the world around you changes. It starts when you begin to recognize yourself in the moment of reaction. If you always regret what you said afterwards, it doesn't mean you're too emotional or overreacting. The truth is much simpler, and at the same time, deeper. Your body and brain are just repeating what they've learned before. Your nervous system developed a pattern, and now it plays automatically over and over. You don't overreact. You repeat a familiar script. Let me give you an example from real life. A friend of mine, let's call her Emily, once got into an argument with her boyfriend Jason. They were talking about some everyday stuff, and Jason said something like, "You always act like this." In that moment, Emily felt a surge of anger. At first, she tried to respond calmly, but then an old pattern kicked in. Fight instead of dialogue. Instead of simply responding to the situation, she started listing all of Jason's past mistakes and wrongdoings, one after another. The words flew out automatically, emotions took over, and soon the conversation escalated into a full-blown argument. An hour later, when the emotions had settled, Emily felt a deep regret. She realized she had said too much, that the situation could have been handled much more calmly, and that her reaction wasn't a conscious choice, but a learned pattern of her nervous system that triggers automatically when she feels criticized or blamed. This is exactly the moment when we see clearly. You don't overreact, you repeat. It's important to understand, when we get stuck in habitual reactions, we're not choosing in the moment, we're just reproducing an old neural script. But if you learn to notice the pattern, slow down, observe your feelings and reactions, you create the chance to respond consciously instead of automatically repeating the same old story. And if you watch this video all the way to the end, I'll show you how to recognize this pattern and gradually take control of your reactions so you don't keep repeating the same scenarios over and over. Many people think that a reaction is a choice, a conscious decision. In reality, it isn't a choice. It's a stored survival strategy that your nervous system learned back in childhood or even earlier through generational habits and family experience. When something happens, your body reacts instantly, much faster than your mind can catch up. This is why we often wonder about our own reactions. Why did I say that? Why did I get so angry? Even though it feels like we're acting consciously in the moment. Your reactions fall into 4 main patterns: fight, flight, freeze, please, fight. To attack, defend, argue, or prove yourself. Flight, to run away, withdraw, avoid conflict, escape physically or mentally. Freeze, to become paralyzed, unable to move or speak. Please, to accommodate, agree. Do everything to keep peace or gain approval. These reactions aren't conscious choices. They are patterns your body remembers as safe strategies. And as long as they operate automatically, mindfulness in the moment often doesn't work because the brain hasn't had time to engage. The old pattern takes over. For example, you try to calmly explain something to your partner and they say something sharp. Instead of responding calmly, your body immediately triggers freeze or fight, and the words come out on their own. Later, you think, I could have handled that differently, but on the level of the nervous system, the choice has already been made. Mindfulness doesn't switch off these patterns instantly. It works when you observe and analyze your reaction afterwards, or when you gradually train new habits so your body can respond differently in similar situations. We've already seen that an automatic reaction is not a choice, but a learned strategy of the nervous system. The important thing to understand is, if you can notice the moment when the reaction is just starting, you have a chance to stop or change it. Let's take Emily and Jason's story as an example. He said, "You always act like this." Inside Emily, an old pattern was triggered: fight instead of dialogue. At first, she felt tension in her chest, her breathing quickened, her hands clenched. This is the signal from the nervous system that the habitual reaction is already activating. Here are the key things to watch for: physical sensations, heart racing, muscles tensing, changes in breathing; emotional signal, anger, irritation, fear, the urge to immediately defend or prove yourself; thoughts, the brain starts replaying past stories, excuses, blame, or justifications. If you notice these signals, you can create a pause. Take a deep breath. Acknowledge, my nervous system is reacting automatically right now. Tell yourself internally, this is an old reaction. It doesn't necessarily reflect reality. Try not to let words come out immediately. Give yourself a few seconds to choose your response. In Emily's case, if she had recognized the moment at the level of her body and emotions, when she felt tension in her chest and the urge to list all of Jason's mistakes, she could have paused and taken a deep breath, said, "Wait, let's figure this out calmly first," or simply listened silently, resisting the old habit of fighting back. It's important to understand this doesn't happen instantly. It's a practice. Every time you notice an automatic reaction, you train your brain and body to respond differently. Slowly, a new pattern is formed. It is in these small pauses that true freedom of choice is born and the old habits gradually lose their power. Right now, I'm going to show you how one automatic reaction can damage relationships, destroy careers, and even change the course of your entire life. Not because you're a bad person, but because, in that moment, your body reacts faster than your mind can think. Most people believe, I was just reacting to the situation. But the truth is, in that moment, you're not choosing. You're repeating. If you've ever regretted something you said or did in an emotional moment, watch this video until the end. You'll understand what's really happening inside you and how to stop it. Tracy and Nancy shared a house. On the outside, everything seemed normal. Two adult women, neighbors, friends, life moving along. But inside, things were very different. Nancy constantly touched Tracy's things, moving books, cosmetics, clothes, sometimes without any ill intent, just her way, sometimes intentionally to get under Tracy's skin. Tracy had been patient for a long time. She tried to ignore it, telling herself, it's not my problem, it's not my reaction. But patience has its limits. That day, Tracy came home from work exhausted, her mind full of deadlines and responsibilities. She walked into the shared room and saw that her favorite notebooks were not in their place. Something inside snapped. She went to Nancy's room, knocked, and opened the door. At first, she tried to speak calmly. "Nancy, why do you keep touching my things?" But Nancy responded sharply, rudely, with irritation. "Leave me alone. These are my things. Do whatever you want with yours." Nancy stepped forward to close the door. What could have been just a verbal disagreement turned into something much bigger. Tracy's old nervous system pattern triggered. She felt anger, tension in her chest, and her body reacted automatically without conscious thought. The door became a point of conflict. Nancy pushed to close it, Tracy pushed to enter. Screaming, shoving, emotions at the breaking point. In one moment, Tracy felt Nancy's hair caught on her hand. Her automatic reaction, built over years, kicked in instantly. Her hand hit Nancy's head against the door. It all happened in seconds. Both women were shocked, breathing hard, the room trembling with tension. The situation crossed every boundary of acceptable behavior. Neighbors heard the commotion and called the police. Tracy was detained. A criminal case was opened against her. Her career, reputation, and colleagues' trust all were at risk. After it happened, nothing could undo it. Tracy could say, "She provoked me. She always does this on purpose." But it didn't matter anymore. The action had happened, the consequences were real, and the responsibility lay with her. This story is a harsh lesson. Reactions that feel natural or justified can have unpredictable consequences, especially when emotions override awareness. The takeaway is simple but crucial. Controlling your reactions doesn't mean suppressing emotions. It means noticing the moment a pattern is triggered, pausing and choosing your response, instead of automatically repeating an old habit. Tracy could have avoided everything if she had stopped in the moment, felt the tension in her body, paused, took a deep breath, and allowed herself to choose a different action. This story teaches us, it doesn't matter who provokes. What matters is how you react. Your reaction creates the consequences. How to gradually rewire your reactions instead of suppressing them. It's important to understand one thing right away. You can't eliminate reactions through willpower. You can only rewrite them, step by step. Automatic reactions were formed over years, sometimes since childhood, sometimes through pain, shame, fear, or experiences where you had to protect yourself, survive, shut down, or attack. That's why real change doesn't begin with control. It begins with observation. 1. Learn to notice the moment before the explosion. A reaction never starts with words. It starts in the body. It might show up as tension in the jaw, tightness in the chest, heat in the face, an urgent need to prove something, a powerful impulse to respond immediately. This is the entry point. If you can catch this moment, you're already off autopilot. You don't need to be calm or mindful yet. It's enough to honestly say to yourself, "I'm in a reaction right now." 2. Give the body a pause, not an explanation. The most common mistake is trying to think your way out, but in a reactive state, thinking is already offline, so the task is not to analyze, it's to slow the body down. Take one deep exhale, drop your shoulders, physically step back. Allow yourself a moment of silence. Even 5 seconds of pause can change the entire script. A pause is not weakness. A pause is how you regain choice. Ask the right question, not who's at fault, and not why did they say that. Ask a deeper question, what am I actually protecting right now? Most often, it's your sense of worth, your boundaries, fear of rejection, an old wound that has nothing to do with the current situation. When you see this, the reaction begins to lose its grip. 4. Choose a new micro-action. Changing a reaction doesn't mean giving the perfect response. It means taking one small step in a different direction. For example, instead of accusing, ask a question. Instead of shouting, say, "I need a moment." Instead of defending, admit, "This hurts right now." Yes, it may feel awkward at first. Yes, it won't always sound polished. But this is how new neural pathways are formed. Repetition matters more than perfection. You don't have to respond correctly every time. What matters is responding differently sometimes. Each time you notice the reaction sooner, pause for a second, choose a different response, you are rewriting the pattern. Over time, the body begins to trust the new experience. You're not breaking yourself. You're teaching your nervous system that it's safe. And when the body no longer needs to protect itself, reactions turn into conscious choice. And this is where the most important moment appears. Even if you already understand how reactions are formed, even if you've started noticing the signals of your body, you will still have slip-ups, not because you're not trying hard enough, but because your nervous system learned these patterns over years, and it's exactly after the reaction that everything is decided, whether the pattern will change or become even more deeply wired, because what you do after the reaction matters more than the reaction itself. 5. Responsibility without self-destruction. This is where a very thin line exists between taking responsibility and destroying yourself from the inside. Many people believe that if they don't criticize themselves, they're letting themselves get away with it. But that's not true. Self-punishment does not change behavior. It only strengthens the old pattern. When you tell yourself, I ruined everything again, there's something wrong with me, I'll never change, your nervous system doesn't hear reflection. It hears danger, and next time, it will protect you even faster, more aggressively, more impulsively. Responsibility is not punishment. Responsibility is clarity. It's the moment when you can honestly say, yes, I reacted. Yes, it was automatic. But I can see exactly where I lost connection with myself, without humiliation, without drama, without an inner courtroom. True responsibility sounds like this. What exactly was triggered in me? At what moment could I have paused? What can I do differently next time? As long as you attack yourself for the reaction, you stay inside the old system. When you begin to observe, you step out of it. And this is how new reactions are formed, not through control, not through shame, but through presence and respect for yourself. We've now reached the moment that changes everything. Automatic reactions are old patterns we've learned over the years. They come fast, almost instantly, often before the mind even has a chance to catch up. Most people think they're reacting to the situation, but in reality, they're repeating what life taught them. There is another way, a way where you choose consciously rather than repeating decades-old reactions. And this path begins with a simple step, the micropause. Micropause, your moment of choice. Imagine irritation, anger, or fear suddenly flaring inside you. The reaction that usually happens instantaneous, but if you take 2-3 seconds of pause, slow your breath, and feel your body, you create space for choice. In that space, you can ask yourself a simple question. What do I want to preserve right now? This question changes everything, not how do I prove I'm right, not how do I punish the other person, but what really matters to me, here and now. Choosing value over reaction. Practically, this means instead of pouring out all your grudges, instead of exploding and saying things you'll regret, instead of trying to control the situation through aggression or manipulation, you choose to preserve connection, preserve your calm, preserve respect for yourself and others. Even if inside you feel like a storm, you create space for freedom. It's important to understand thoughts and emotions in the moment of a trigger are not the truth. They're signals from the body, a signal of anxiety, fear, an old survival pattern. When you recognize this, you stop believing every emotion and impulse immediately. You begin to separate signal from choice, forming a new neural pathway. A new reaction doesn't form overnight, but each time you make a conscious choice, you build a new neural pathway. For example, normally you might yell at your child when you're tired. This time, you pause, breathe, and calmly explain. The child listens, the situation is resolved, and you both stay connected. One moment won't fix your life, but it lays the foundation for the next one, and then the next. Gradually, this builds a stable pattern of conscious responses, while old automatic reactions lose their power. Freedom is not perfection. Many people think, if I choose consciously, I have to be perfect all the time. No, freedom is not perfection. It's the ability to choose even when inside is a storm. Even when your body screams, emotions swirl, and the past tugs at you. You can notice the emotion, feel it fully, make a choice that preserves both yourself and others, and that is already a victory. Automatic reactions are the past trying to control your present. Conscious choice is when the past no longer rules you. It's not control through force, not suppressing emotions, not self-blame. It's understanding, respect, and connection with yourself. And this is where adult stable life truly begins, calm, whole, full of inner freedom. Let's now bring together everything we've covered in these 6 blocks. If you watch this video until the end, you'll get a practical tool to notice your reactions, understand them, and gradually change your life. The first key is awareness. You notice that you're reacting out of habit, like on autopilot. You see the moment your body is about to trigger an old survival strategy: anger, resentment, fear. And you realize this is not you. It's the reaction your body learned. The second key is separating reaction from choice. A reaction happens instantly. It reflects the past, a survival strategy your body memorized. Simply recognizing this is an automatic reaction is already a step toward freedom. The third key is learning to stop. Even a single second of pause can prevent a huge conflict. Remember the story with the couple who argued. If the heroine had paused before escalating, the situation wouldn't have spiraled out of control. The fourth key is practice. Every time you react differently than you used to, you build a new neural pathway. Each small conscious action strengthens your ability to act intentionally, while old patterns gradually lose their power. The fifth key is taking responsibility for your reactions. Responsibility self-punishment. It's not, I'm a bad person, or I messed up again. It's asking yourself, what triggered this reaction inside me? What signal led to it? How can I respond differently next time? Responsibility is connection with yourself and respect for yourself, not punishment. The sixth key is choosing instead of repeating old patterns. The micropause, body awareness, and the question, what do I want to preserve right now? Allow you to choose, to maintain connection, to keep your inner calm, not to replay old patterns. This is where real freedom arises, not perfection, not without mistakes, but the ability to act consciously even in the storm of emotions. Here's how to use these 6 keys starting today. Notice your reactions. When a strong emotion arises, acknowledge it. This is a reaction, not me. Take a micro pause, 2 to 3 seconds, to separate the signal from your action. Decide what you want to preserve. Connection, calm, respect. Choose your action, not the automatic reaction, even if your habitual emotion urges you otherwise. Be responsible without self-blame. Explore what worked and what can be improved. Repeat daily, and over time, old patterns will lose their power over your life. We live in a world of automatic reactions shaped over years, often since childhood. But you have the power to notice your patterns, pause in the moment, choose differently. And this is not theory, it's real life, where you stop being a hostage of your past. Remember, freedom doesn't come instantly. It is built in the small moments of choice. And every time you choose consciously, you create a new life for yourself. If you apply these 6 keys, you will understand yourself better, reduce conflicts, build relationships and career without the traps of old habits. And tomorrow, a new video will be released, where we explore even deeper practices for managing emotions and reactions, so subscribe so you don't miss it.